This one here is Leisure and Recreation and Long Duration Space Missions by T.M. Fraser. This is a classic paper from 1968, and this is actually looks like this is now maintained by NASA in their library. So this looks like it was in the Human Factors Journal in 68. But what's up, Birdbanes? But like this is now owned apparently by NASA as part of like their like library of stuff that's important to the research into spaceflight and putting humans in outer space. So, as always, is my first time reading it. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll do my best answering it. But again, my first time too. What was that? Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, there we go. All right, and here we go. Drop the music a bit. You have to do this one manually. Nope, other way. Board games in space. I mean, that is kind of the question here. Like, you're basically in a prison where you have to work very hard when you're in a spaceship. It's a very small, tight space, and how do you keep yourself from going insane? Because I've also heard that being on like the space station is very loud. You've got a lot of machines going, keeping like life support working, and so it's difficult. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of twister, but that's the question. How do you actually get by in outer space? All right. In space missions to date, and in those that are planned for the near future, the use of leisure time has not been a problem. In fact, barely enough time has been available within the duration of the mission to implement the necessary procedures and complete the planned programs. In missions of months to years duration, however, some of which are already in the planning stage, considerations must be given to the use of leisure time and the provision of recreational facilities. Offline corn hub, like DVDs, we want that 4K, like those 4K Blu-rays up in outer space. Someone once asked a NASA official if any of the astronauts have ever had sex in space, and the NASA official said, officially no, but we'd be a little bit shocked if none of them ever did it. Like they had never done it, like they're creative people. And so, yeah. Well, mandatory fun. And that is a problem. How do you, you can have forced recreation time, but how do you have actually forced fun? You can't really force fun. Like fun implies some level of freedom there. So that's part of the issue. Yeah, offline corn hub. It's they're called DVDs and Blu-ray. Sock says, second source means I stick with when reading Marx. Literature, I stick with the collected works of Marx Engels by Lawrence and Weishart. And Progress publishes Moscow for Land. Okay. Viper says, one of my dysfunctional hobbies is giving LLMs dumb premises and seeing how much pushback they give until they accept it. And I'm telling you, I'm a genius for thinking outside the box. 3 prompts. That's how long it took the AI to agree that maybe Leibniz wrote his feet too. You see, yeah, that's like the thing. It's like, what actually are the LLMs up to if you can break them in 3 prompts? Interesting though, Vipers. Ship ahead Creative Tetris. Well, I'm sure they have a video game console. That would be a no-brainer, basically. But that's not any different from Nintendo used to have playing cards. That's where they started in the game industry, as far as I know, is they were making playing cards and trading cards and stuff like that. So we've had card games forever. I mean, we've of course had card games forever, but there are various card games, not just the 52 card deck with the suits. So it's but we know that. The problem is, what else do we need to do? Because that's how we recreate here on Earth. Maybe something has to be done when you're on a space mission. By the way, according to the thing, and there's adultery. Okay. Yeah, Nintendo was founded in 1889. Yeah, Nintendo's not a new company. I mean, it might be young in terms of Japan, but it's not a new company. Okay. The concept of leisure has changed throughout the years, and even more markedly in the last few years. When most of man's time was occupied by survival or with earning sufficient reward to ensure his continued place in society, leisure was the modicum of time left over from work and was commonly occupied by sleep, rest, or inactivity. No adultery. Oh, okay. I was wondering what you're... I was a little wondering about what you were saying there, Tindarius. That's fine. With the increasing automation of industry and the decrease in drudgery of manual work, more and more time not scheduled for work has become available to men. Analogously, in the early space missions, so much time was taken up with continued procedures and tasks that little or no time was available for anything other than eating, hygiene, and sleeping. With much longer missions, larger crews, and organization of activities into routine scheduled tasks, personal time will become available to crew members. In the industrial society of today, the possibilities of improper... there it is. Usage of personal time by individuals untrained in the pursuit of leisure have been of some concern. Yeah, I mean, idle hands, what's the old saying? Like, idle hands make trouble or whatever it is. Believe me, that's one of the reasons I started streaming, was to occupy my time so I wouldn't be even stupider. Like, because that's how I make decisions when when I need to make decisions. What is the stupidest thing I could be doing? And then I go do that. Because if I get bored, I will be stupid. And it's like, I might as well be doing it like a decision procedure about it. Like, go figure it out. Because like, if I'm just bored, believe me, I've done stupid shit. Viper says, I mean to have a ColecoVision console. Turned out they were found in 32, and Cola was a British, the Connecticut Leather Company. Yeah, idle hands do the devil's work. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. 1932. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I had one of the my dad liked video games. We had one of the original Ataris. My dad had one of those. It was really cool. You're playing old versions of Breakout and stuff from like the early 80s. It's cool. When I'm bored, I get more depressed. Yeah, and that's part of the issue is you don't want people to be unhappy and bored on a spacecraft where there's a lot of moving parts. Because if they start like getting bored and like fidgeting with stuff that they shouldn't be fidgeting with, that's a recipe for disaster. So that's part of why this is interesting here, is that how do you actually find alternative pursuits for people that are like highly specialized and trained? Yeah, so it's been of some concern, which has led to increasing consideration of what might be termed the creative uses of leisure. Pretty sure there are plenty of pills to solve the depression problem. Yes, but do they solve all the problems? They may solve certain problems. Pills come with other problems, usually. So, like, it's not the end all be all, unfortunately. If we just had a pill and everything was good, believe me, it would be great, but we don't got that. All right, the significance of the contemporary viewpoint has been discussed by Theobald, who stated, quote, the 19th century concepts of man's life as a mere division between toil and respite from toil must disappear, along with the production-oriented factory organization which gave rise to such a curiously twisted version of the relationship between an individual and his society. Leisure will no longer simply be time not spent in toiling, but rather the full use of an individual's potential for the physical benefit of his fellows and his own recreation. Yeah. I don't want to be... Well, that's the issue. It's like, what sacrifices are you willing to make for the mission? And it may involve drugs at some point. Like, it really might. And like other things, like you're going to be away. You're going to be in an environment that's not as safe. Like you're going to be getting like rays from the sun that's like unhealthy. And like these are real concerns. If you're going to be in outer space in a not very well shielded spacecraft, you may just get like cancers all over your body from like, whatever cosmic rays are out there. And it sounds funny when I say, oh, the cosmic rays, but like it's true. Like it's bad. If you're out in outer space for a long time, you get hit by more stuff because our atmosphere blocks a lot of it. So we're not used to surviving in outer space. So it's like you're always going to make certain trade-offs to do anything. And that may involve drugs. Okay. While the astronaut in the long-duration space mission is by no means comparable to the wage slave of the industrial society, he nevertheless cannot be expected to divide his day between working and sleeping. At the same time, he cannot be merely allotted a portion of time with instructions to relax. Provision must be made for the constructive or creative use of leisure. It is true that personality studies of astronauts and astronaut candidates indicate that this group tends to find the common leisure time activities less satisfying than the work associated with the mission requirements. Okay, they're clerking, yeah. But for very prolonged missions under conditions of less than optimal habitability and with a more diverse crew than is currently found in astronaut selection, it would seem reasonable, if not mandatory, to make provision for some form of additional creative leisure. Yeah, and you can think, okay, maybe the astronauts are not the sort of people who just want to, drink a beer and watch the baseball game. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're like highly involved. I would think of them more of like, the tabletop board game people. Like they want to get like involved in like intricacies of like crafting or something, not just like drinking a beer and kicking back. Believe me, I like drinking a beer and kicking back. But again, these are questions that need to be asked. What can you do for the different sorts of people? Would I like to visit space someday? Yeah, I would. Sure. I'm hoping by the time I'm old, like in another 20, like I'm already 40 something. I have to remember what. I'm hoping like another 20 years it becomes more feasible for just like regular Joe Schmoes like myself when I'm like 60 and I'm not hopefully in terrible shape. To like go up into outer space. I think that'd be very cool. Birdbanes. Plenty of people like the idea of strapping into contraptions for peeing and pooping. Space retirement will be a thing. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind like having a little, say like in 20 years, which is seemingly very, looking at the way shit's going right now, seemingly like nothing's going to happen the next few years because we have not got our shit together. But I was hoping in like 20 years, there'd be like commercial space flights that wouldn't be so bad. So yeah. There has to be some provision for masturbation, otherwise it'd be unrealistic. There needs to be a protocol for gumming up the machines in 0G. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, strap in, motherfucker. Shatner, when he was old and he got shook. Interesting. Yeah, Vipers, I'm hoping there's a rocket-based euthanasia program. Yeah, that's also the thing. It's like, why not? Like, if you want to go out with a bang, you might as well strap your ass to a rocket. Creative leisure in this connection is not just a matter of being amused, being entertained, or merely being comfortable, but should exist as, quote, an opportunity for learning as a possible cultivator of tastes, interests, skills, and values, end quote, in addition to the tasks and requirements of the mission. And this is like, again, I say this a lot, but I think of it a lot of times as a crop rotation. You have to do different types of activities, and that way your brain can like, spread out. And and then when you come back to the other one, then you're feeling better. I wonder if they pee poop is a shared facility, or do they have their own? I'm sure they have like a bathroom that people can use. I mean, why would you want to have multiple systems when it'll take up space to have like everyone has their own bathroom? I mean, unless you're talking about like something like a space hotel, Birdbanes, I'm sure there's like one bathroom for a few people. Yeah. Rocco can waste a lot of time playing video games. Yeah, I'm sure that's like part of the provisions. Yeah, Google's 20% time. Yeah. Skin contact. You do realize that like people have, like you can have like throwaway like surfaces, like, those toilet seat covers. You can also have that, like without having different bathrooms. You can have a toilet seat cover. Like that's not a big deal. I mean, you have used bathrooms outside of your own house. I mean, if you don't, fine, but like you do get that is a thing. You want to go poop on the moon sock now? Okay. Bright Bill 19. Okay. Bright Bill points out in a discussion of the general use of leisure in today's society. Ugh. Yeah, this is so weird. The music disappears on me. Okay, let's switch it to something else. It does not work. Do that. Next 4 paragraphs are the core of what Shatner said. Really worth looking at? Okay. 0G PP Gun has no gravity. Is basically a hose you strap on if you're a guy. Not sure how that's done for women though. I'm sure it's basically the same. You just get like, you probably have your own little connector that you hold on to that's like this big. And like you put your junk on that and then you plug that into the machine. It's not like it's that crazy. Like I can come up with what I think of as a reasonable thing to use right here. Like you only need like this size thing for any one person. Like whatever, just has to fit on the end. So yeah. You don't want to poop, you just want to say you're on the moon? Okay. Okay, so this is from Shatner. I saw a cold, black emptiness. It was unlike any blackness you can see or feel on Earth. It was deep, enveloping, all-encompassing. I turned back towards the light of home. I could see the curvature of Earth, the beige of the desert, the white clouds, and the blue of the sky. It was life, nurturing, sustaining Mother Earth Gaia, and I was leaving her. Yeah. Conversation has turned to a shit show? Yep, it has. Everything I had thought was wrong. Everything I had expected to see was wrong. I had thought that going into space would be the ultimate catharsis of the connection I'd been looking for between all living things, that there would be the next beautiful step to understanding the harmony of the universe. In the film Contact, when Joy Foster's character goes to space and looks to heaven, she lets out a soft whisper, they should have sent a poet. I had the different experience because I discovered that the beauty isn't out there, it's down here. Yep. Rocker says, maybe we should listen to ambient engine sounds from Star Trek. Maybe not. Orange says, maybe the best space colonizers will be raised by kids, special adults in domes, not ruined by Earth social turmoil. That's very idealistic, Orange. The idea that we're going to have like specialized people, that's usually very, very psycho people. Sort of like, oh, we're going to make the perfect society. That's creepy, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, because that's always like, Elon, I was going to say that's a Bond villain-esque. We're going to have like perfect society with the right people that are raised in the right way. It's like, no, let's not do it like that. All right, continuing, says Brian from Shatner, it was among the strongest feelings of grief I've ever encountered. The contrast between the vicious coldness of space and the warm, nurturing Earth below filled me with an overwhelming sadness. Every day we are confronted with the knowledge of further destruction of Earth at our hands, the extinction of animal species, the flora and fauna, things that took 5 billion years to evolve, and suddenly we'll never see them again because of the interference of mankind. To fill me with dread. My trip to space was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it felt like a funeral. Well, there we go. He got the cosmic horror thing. You don't want to be a colonizer, you just want tourism? Yeah. Okay, let's get back to paper. Brightbill points out in a discussion of the general uses of leisure in today's society that the crux of the matter lies not... music's a little loud. Not in providing people with past forms of recreation, participant or otherwise, but in assisting them to acquire the values, desires, and skills and opportunities to use their free time in ways which will contribute to their own free personality development, their satisfaction and stability, either with or without organized resources. What is required are people who will see leisure as an opportunity, who will be challenged rather than bored by it. While Brightbill's comments were made with reference to man in an urban society, the principles still have application to space missions. Translated to the deeds of long-term mission astronauts, application of these principles entails the initial selection of individuals with these capacities already in being, provision of training to develop their talents still further, and provision of opportunities to harness the potential so developed. Yeah, and this is why like the video game things is so important. Like you can have like the headset, feel like you're in other worlds, doing other stuff to really give yourself the opportunity to do something very different from what you are, wherever you are and what you're doing. And video games really do have this potential nowadays, but that's not entirely, but like that may not be for everyone. So I was like, we've colonized too much. You don't say. I think that the only thing that's fair to nature is just touring its beauty and learning about its formation in real time. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, but I don't know how that's going to work like in the current society. I'd like it to be nicer. All right, the selection system. Oh, wait, you know what I'm going to do? Know what I forgot? Vipers, this is entirely your fault. There we go. The selection system already in effect, of course, is oriented largely to that end, and that by its means are selected, trained, and educated individuals with qualities of self-reliance, objective judgment, and self-sufficiency, which lend themselves to creative use of leisure time. Perhaps even more potential will be found in the trained scientist who is selected for astronaut duties. Those characteristics which caused him to select a scientific career, amplified by his training, are such that his leisure time and his work time tend to overlap diffusely, or that in his leisure time he continues to pursue activities which will develop other areas of compelling interest. Yeah, I know, Vipers. Listen, people don't give a fuck. The only justice is mitigation. Yeah, I know. I know, Sock, now. We're not nice things. I wish we were nicer beings. Okay. The question of training for leisure time activities is difficult. Obviously, the training given to astronauts assists in developing self-sufficiency and those other qualities which assist in the constructive use of leisure. It is also relatively simple to encourage and develop a useful talent that is already in existence. The essence of leisure time activity, however, is spontaneity. The activity must be the free choice of the individual. And this is the difficult part because I've written in this area. Oh, dude, I just got a reference to my old paper on the logic of puns. That's not what I wanted to do. So we got spontaneity. The activity must be free choice of the individual. Catching the last bit of that. But like that's the point, is that if there's free choice involved, you're dealing with philosophical topics. And I've been writing on this, what is fun and what is like whimsy. What is a free choice? And so I have a definition of whimsy, which I like to give Baraday some shit about. But like that's the this is the crux, because free choice is existential choice. Is it, what kind of freedom are we talking about? What's going on here? And this is why matters for philosophy. Yes, relax productively. And that's part of the issue, is that where's the freedom if it's productively? Birdbrains with the way humans drive. Yeah, I'd unplug the umbilical. They go to spacewalks. Yeah. Whimzed. Yeah, Whimzed. Oh, god damn it. Semiotics. Go back to earlier. And he says, this paper sounds to me sort of similar to Heidegger's philosophy of existentialist time was related to meaning making. Well, that's part of the issue, is it's existentialist in what is it that gives our lives meaning, and this overlaps with technology. So it's it's in the neighborhood. How will we convince the current powers that colonization is not necessary for survival? It's how do we stop the people from being insane in government? It would be nice if we could do that, just in general. Okay. Among those individuals who have shown no particular bent toward a particular type of activity, or whose leisure activities cannot reasonably be pursued within a spacecraft, training might well be oriented toward some useful ancillary field, along with, if requested, indoctrination in particular areas desired by the participants. Yeah, go learn something. People might want to read a book. Stuff. 9mm. No, we're not killing our politicians, Birdbane. Provision of opportunities for furtherance of creative leisure activities within a vehicle must of necessity be limited by the constraints of the vehicle and the mission. And you know what the thing was? I was like, of course we're not killing our politicians. We're not doing that. And I'm definitely not saying we should do that when I'm broadcasting on Twitch. So, yeah. And yeah, exactly. This is one of those... On Twitch, we are very clear that no violence is coming to anyone. You understand? So yeah, that is a TOS to say otherwise. Okay. It is neither reasonable nor feasible to provide the resources of a terrestrial laboratory for a scientist or the materials for a hi-fi enthusiast, but some provision can be made to meet appropriate requirements, particularly if these are known and accounted for in advance, and furthermore, the well-oriented individual will seek and find his opportunities within the limits that are available to him. Yeah, I mean, again, with modern tech, the notion that we could send up a new video game, of course, is great, because that's just data. Yes, unless it's sanctioned by the US government and it's okay, because the U.S. government is bombing Iran, and so as an official policy of the U.S. government, I can talk about that. Yes, Birdbanes, of course. This is all in Minecraft, exactly. We're going to space in the Kerbal Space Program. This is all a Kerbal Space Program stream. So, yeah. This creative use of leisure, however, although vital for a man's long-term well-being, is not the only desirable use of leisure. Just as one cannot expect man to divide his time between sleeping and working, one can expect him to devote all his leisure to self-development. Part of that time is reasonably spent in a relatively passive amusement. Orange says, without radical yet sensible alternative, it feels like undoing millennia of expansionist ideas as a basis of purpose is a pipe dream. I don't know. Colonization as we did it in the last few hundred years is not what it was like thousands of years ago or tens of thousands of years ago. So I don't know how far we really are from being like different enough that at least we could say, no, we've made progress between now and then. Like, give it a few hundred years, like, we're going to be very different than we are now. I mean, think about it. We're in the year 2026. Think about, like, 1726, what was going on then. And then in 1426, and then 1126 before that. Like, you go back long enough, things are different. Like, the technology is very different. The way we think about the world's very different. I don't know if it's, yeah, men in power always want more, but people are like that quite often, but that doesn't mean everything has to be terrible all the time. Like, yeah, it's a very different world now too. We're literally brainstorming an idea for how space tourism and colonization can begin. And, there are plenty of people thinking about this now because it is on the horizon. There's multiple private companies going to outer space now. Multiple countries have legit space programs. Like we've had, I know China landed stuff on the moon, which was very cool. India apparently has a competent, like a pretty good space program, not better than competent. They've been doing really well. Japan has stuff going on. And there's probably more. So yeah, like this is not going to be that far off now, where space is amusement, and then you know what's going to happen? It's just going to be space flights going to the other part of the world, which is going to be shorter. Like it'll be a quick flight. Then people get bored with it, and we'll have to be watching our movies in the space flight. Yeah, Rocket Lab. Yeah, what's up, Joushy? How you doing? So stuff like that, and then we'll have a moon landing base. That'll be cool. We can go to the moon eventually. Maybe we need a few astronauts to perish to save spaceship Earth. Seems smarter move. Thanks, Joushy. Good to hear. You're excellent. I'm not calling for anybody to die in outer space. Again, like if you're just hoping that like we're gonna have some catastrophe and that's gonna bring us all together, I find that sort of like fantasy, just a fantasy. Like the idea that like it might, but in Star Trek, for instance, it took World War III and a lot of people dying before humanity got their act together and got together. And I don't see us getting our act together anytime soon. We're not going to invent a warp drive yet. So we're not on the Star Trek timeline, sadly. Cool. All right. Other nations could care less. Yeah, absolutely. Send Trump to space. He would be a beacon of hope. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to have a president in outer space. Viper says, if Elon has a way, we'll be trapped due to a Kessler syndrome. Anyway, I do not know what Kessler syndrome is anyway, but okay. I don't want Elon to get his way at this point, whatever it is, though. He seems like a terrible person. Anyway. What then could be the nature of this relatively passive amusement? Several studies have been made to determine how leisure time is actually spent in different population groups, and while the results are not relevant to the requirements of spacecraft, they indicate the type of activities that might bear consideration. One such study in an urban population group involved a random sample of 1,660 individuals, representing a cross-section of the community with all populations elements in the sample in the same proportion as they existed in the community. Sock says, getting our act together, that is laughable. I mean, the naivete with that sort of thinking is just enormous. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get our act together anytime soon. Okay, so most people like radio, TV, movies. Not surprising. Readings also a second one. Other unspecified, that's 42%. I'm not actually surprised. Like, I don't always know what I want to be doing. Outdoor activities participant. Yeah, you want to get outside and do stuff. Get out. Arts or handicrafts, 25%. I'm not entirely, that's not a bad number. It's not a huge number either, but, that's kind of cool. Music, also about a quarter. So these are sort of things that are cool. Then we got hobbies, spectator sports, social work, self-improvement, and nothing. 3% of people just sit there. Orbit clearing will be the booming business in a decade. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, some people just like to sit quietly. That's fair. But, what are most people doing? Most people are consuming media. That's what they're doing. Radio, TV, movies. And that's not surprising. It's very, that's a production put on for your entertainment. All the other stuff is more active. Viper says is when space debris crashes into each other, creating more space debris and so on, creating a chain reaction. Then the orbits around the planet become a shredding machine. Oh, yeah, I've heard of that now. Yeah, we're just creating so much like high velocity space trash that we're not going to be able to get into outer space. It's going to be a mess. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, yeah. Well, there's been a lot of jokes about, like, you know, someone collecting the trash and like launching it all at the sun or doing something with it. It's like, this is known. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's a known issue. Okay. The above study, of course, pertains to an entire urban population, is not necessarily applicable to the habits of a highly specific group of astronauts and astronaut scientists. It is obviously that data should be collected from astronauts themselves. Eddowes undertook a study in which the subjects were somewhat more closely related to the population group from which the astronaut scientists are selected, although it still bore no direct relationship. He investigated the leisure time activity of some 80 male professional personnel of an industrial aerospace organization ranging in age from 19 to 36, with a modal academic degree of bachelor, and in professional specialties including various branches of engineering, human factors, mathematics, physics, etc. Some of the results are shown in Table 2. The data were analyzed by counting the number of times a given activity was indicated by the subjects and dividing the result by the number of subjects. The resulting number is termed the relative frequency of an activity. Let's take a look at that real fast, because that, I think, is up here. So these are what people actually do who are like in an aerospace engineering firm. So reading. So most of the people spend time reading, and then you can see this is 725 right here, and then the next number is 3. So this is a drop off of more than 2, you know? Now, I don't know this frequency, if it's like a percentage or what it is, but so most people are reading and watching TV. And then music is shortly after, manual, playing bridge. So like, yeah, so this is a card game right here. Now we're getting into that. And then educational activities, miscellaneous work, and all the other sort of like outdoorsy and hobby stuff comes after it. Yeah, the Planet of the Earthship is not new. What sport were best at? Kid? I played soccer for a bit. I also did karate when I was young. What was I best at? I was okay at soccer. I was decently good at karate, and that's what I did. Yeah. I was in the Boy Scouts. Doc says, I think if we have a realistic fix to this situation, it requires unanimity that is unheard of, and could you create mass movement like this requires tons of conformity and tons of people are compromising on their own accord. Yeah. Viper says, maybe we could use Ben Shapiro's eyebrows to clean the orbits like a whale feeding on krill. Yeah, you get like the... I see what you're saying. Activities from the 60s. It's not crazy who I am. I am mad. Yeah. Only people who know how to play bridge are old. Yeah. Monoliths would be Fortnite, Counter-Strike. Well, you got to think video games would be up here. Like, it would be reading, television, movies, and video games. Like, that would be like up here somewhere, whatever that is. I mean, that's all it is. Because playing bridge is, as far as I'm concerned, that's a game. So this is game playing is already number 5 among an aerospace firm's employees in the 60s. So this isn't a crazy thought that like video games would be up there. He's a black belt, yes. Viper says, Monolith would be Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, yep. But I do see that happening with current society that we have is stubborn like a mule. No. Yeah, no. No one's worried about what... I'm not thinking we're going to get this now. Someone needs to write a paper on his eyebrows, like what the fuck is up with that? Yeah, maybe. Mutiny aboard Facebook. I mean, plenty of people get on those, cancel Facebook things. I mean, and the only people who use Facebook nowadays are, I don't think any of the young hip type use Facebook anymore. The only time I'm on Facebook is usually for Facebook Marketplace, which is pretty good, which is if you guys don't have Facebook Marketplace in your area, that's basically Craigslist, if you know what that is. It's kind of just like an online selling listing, and it's good because the people's real names are associated with their accounts, so it has a built-in sort of rating system because it's real names, and so like people complain about you, it's attached to your profile, and so it's actually pretty good to use because you know who you're dealing with. Classified ads. Thank you, Vipers. The brain starts going. I don't know what the people are on TikTok. Exactly, Birdbanes. I don't know what people are doing. I'm on Twitch and that's about it. Okay. In comparing these two studies, it is interesting to observe that despite the fact that two widely different population groups are involved, the activity preference is much the same in each group. Even if the observed similarities arises from the fact that only a limited number of leisure activities are available, it nevertheless suggests that the existence of a cultural pattern. Excluding outdoor activities, the major interest would appear to be in reading, TV, movies, music, active and passive, just listening. Passive, arts, handicrafts, and this is where I would put video games, arts and handicrafts and card playing, like right over here. And so that's already in the realm of what people were doing and the like. These preferences, of course, may well reflect the fact that such activities are easily pursued, since the requirements for all of them are an integral part of our contemporary culture, and little initiative is needed to pursue them. Eddowes also invited his subjects to indicate what recreational equipment they would wish for a hypothetical space mission. The results are tabulated in Table 3. It will be observed that the equipment chosen tends to match the order of relative frequency of activities, with the exception of chess, which ranks considerably higher on the equipment list than on the activity lists. Interesting. Yeah, because you can play chess a long fucking time. And so I was like, that's good. The desire to pursue certain activities within a confined or isolated situation is not necessarily implemented, however, in practice. Rohrer points out from his experience in the Antarctic that almost everyone prior to becoming isolated had made plans to utilize leisure in a constructive manner, such as by studying for promotion, reading worthy novels or technical books, studying languages, listening to technical and scientific lectures, etc. But with time, these good intentions began to dwindle and were replaced with simpler, more fundamental types of activities, such as reminiscing, telling tall stories, and so forth. That's interesting, and this makes sense. Like, you can actually go to like isolated places, and what do you actually want when you get isolated? It's not the same thing because you're not under the same conditions in society versus when you're in stressful conditions. This finding is in contrast with that of Ebersole, who in discussion of leisure activities aboard a nuclear submarine, reported an increasing desire for complexity of reading material with prolonged submergence. Yeah, so we're under different kinds of stress. So when you are in a place where you're in like the Antarctic, it's one thing. But when you're in a very confined space like a submarine, that's different. Lesser known problem is about body odor, need more efficient life support scrubbers and farts. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, there's a lot of machines going on in space, and it's more like a nuclear sub. All right, and so this is for when you ask people what they think they want for a space journey. Books, playing cards, chess, musical instruments, record equipment, handicraft equipment, art supplies, writing supplies, athletic equipment, puzzles and games, photographic supplies, flowers, and pets. Sex response. Finally, we're getting somewhere, like everyone was asking. Sex response down here. All right, this is what wrong button. So yeah. So, like, what do you want to do? You want porn. That's what they want. And they had Playboy in the 60s, so that may have been what they were expecting. There we go. Okay. In the early phase of the patrol, mystery and Western novels were selected, but as time went by, books of greater complexity requiring greater concentration were chosen. Kinsey also observes upon the drive towards higher rating or qualification among the men on the submerged cruise of the submarine Nautilus under the North Pole. The difference in attitude between the Antarctic groups and the submarine groups is difficult to reconcile, but they simply reflect the high morale found aboard nuclear submarines. In other words, creative uses of leisure may be both a function of morale and a factor in maintaining high morale. That's interesting. So, yeah, there may be very different operational situations that call for very different kinds of leisure. And that would be very interesting. Like, do certain activities mean you want certain kinds of leisure? And if you're not doing those specific ones, do you need something else? Not much privacy for wanking in a floaty tin can, though. Some people like to be watched. I don't know, Birdbanes. So maybe you like that. Might even lead to depression. Yeah. Well, again, that's what they're saying. Morale matters here, and what you do matters to your morale. So it's like there's something going on there that does need research. Because this is just hypothesizing these issues. We don't like this doesn't happen. I'm sure people have looked into it since the 60s. Aside from the self-development aspects of the use of leisure activity, it would seem that two general classes of recreational activity require to be considered, namely the active and the passive. On the submarine, there's an understanding. I've read about it. I'm sure. I mean, there's always the old joke in the U.S. Navy that, like, you know, everyone goes on the ship and they all come back gay together. So it's like, yeah. I saw an interview once where there was some, like, film crew was on a U.S. Navy vessel and they got this, like, secured, an MP, like the military police guy. And they were like saying, they're like, well, do people actually like fool around and hook up? He's like, yeah, they memorize our routes. They know where and when we're going to be because that's where we have to patrol. And they just aren't there at those times. And the boss was there is like, you are never to be on camera again. He's like, well, that's the truth. But like, he's like, yeah, don't say that. But like, everyone knows. Birdbane says, think subs have private loose for wanking not so much on spacecraft. But that's the point. It's that that's a bigger space. So, sure. Oh, I got something in my eye. Yeah. Okay. The active activities include those pursuits into which the individuals put some participant input, such as craftwork, communal game playing, and musical instrument playing. Craftwork has been one of the most popular leisure activities on submarines, where complex hobby kits have been in great demand. Interesting. So these are all the people, like, putting stuff together. It's fun. Not all craftwork, unfortunately, is suitable for even the most advanced spacecraft foreseeable, but particularly if a gravitational field be provided, many different types of... Oopsie, I can't see this for whatever reason. Craft might be feasible. While barely applicable to the present generation of astronauts, possibilities would be open for model building, electronic tinkering, painting, etc., and even photography, although subject matter for the latter might be limited. Communal games, especially card games and to a lesser extent chess and similar games, are very well established leisure activities. The participant playing of music, as opposed to the passive enjoyment of music, is open to only a few, but provides immense satisfaction to the player, although perhaps less so to his listeners, particularly in a confined spacecraft. I mean, nowadays what you can do, of course, is you can have, the silent stuff. You have the headphones and then a drum kit that, only goes into your headphones. So the options nowadays for all of this are way better. Play Rock Band. Should the company, however, be suitably talented, the rewards accruing from the creation of a space ensemble would probably be greater than from any form of leisure activity, while even the lone musical instrument would be a great satisfaction to its owner, as witnessed the 9-month organ playing on the Gemini 7 mission. Interesting. So someone had one of the boing, boing, boing mouth organ things, and people really liked it. Passive entertainment, such as provided by radio, TV, movies, and reading, is the major leisure activity of the majority of persons. According to a random sample of 7,000 interviews during 1 week in the U.S., approximately 72% of the population over the age of 12 spent nearly 2 billion hours watching television, about 60% spent over 1 billion hours listening to radio, over 80% spent more than 400 million hours reading newspapers, and nearly 30% spent about 150 million hours attending movies. Yeah, it's like Twitch. Casual listening to radio or recorded music is particularly pervasive since it can be combined with many work activities in addition to being a favored leisure activity. Bird says, I suspect the primary concern is not if astronauts have leisure activities, but how long the mission is. People can generally endure boredom and focus on the mission for relatively short periods of time. Anything longer than 6 months would be a challenge. No, that's exactly That's exactly the question. If you're going to be in space for that long and you're not going to be in direct communication with the Earth, you're not going to be able to get radio signals or whatever easily, whatever it is, that's the difficulty here. How do you actually account for future leisure activity that you can't just you can't immediately react to? And that's the problem. So how do you plan for leisure that you don't know how you're going to be feeling in 6 months? And that's the issue. You can do 6 months? Yeah, see, I mean, that makes sense that you have some idea how long it takes before you start losing your mind. Because believe me, I have some sense of how long it takes me before I start losing my mind too, which is a lot shorter than 6 months. But how do you plan to counteract that? It has been found of particular value in reducing the boredom associated with routine and monotonous activities, and in fact, the first objective study of the use of music in industry goes back to the days before commercial radio was established. So that's 1921. Cool. Several studies have been conducted, all of which show that either the production in monotonous work increases measurably during periods in which music is provided, or that employee attitudes become highly favorable towards it. One such study by Humes investigated the effects of music on scrappage of radio tubes in a tube-making industry. Unknown to the employees, he followed production during 5 periods, one with mixed music, one with fast music, one with slow, one with specialty selected music, and one with no music. So he was just testing people randomly. That's great. Von Brilvine's already lost his mind. Took no time at all. Yeah, exactly. Bird Baines' one-way trip to Mars takes 7 to 10 months, according to Google. A round trip can take 3 years. No, and that is the question here. That is exactly the question, Bird Baines. Because we need to plan for exactly these sorts of issues. Because, what was it? I was watching the Martian, the movie with Matt Damon and a bunch of other people. But he was the guy that got stranded. But part of the mission is that it takes so long to get from Earth to Mars that the crew has to do stuff, and it's dangerous, and like that's worrisome for them. And then so like that's the issue when they're not actually on mission. What are they doing? And that's part of the movie, and it's a book, part of the book. Yeah, okay. He found the scrappage was greatest in the no music period, less so in the mixed period, still less in the all slow or all fast periods, and during the non-music period, a petition was presented to management by the employees asking for the resumption of the music. Yeah, so everyone wants the music when you're doing boring work. I'm not surprised. You're looking forward to Project Hail Mary? Yeah, I just saw an ad for that. That could be cool. Let's stop even playing for travel out of the solar system. Yeah, the, what was it? One of those, Voyager spacecrafts just left, like, our, like, local area in the solar system by whatever measure. And that was sent off, like, 30 something, some long time ago. Yeah. Same author. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Cool. The duties of astronauts and astronaut scientists are not comparable to the monotonous piecework of the industries examined, but music might be found beneficial as an adjunct to some other forms of leisure activity. Steps, however, must be taken to account for differences in taste and the times when music is available. Yeah, I mean, you gotta think, this is the 60s. We're talking records. So having a variety of music means having a variety of records. That's no small task in terms of, like, you know, transporting those in an aircraft, a spacecraft. Both amazing books. Cool. Bert says, I think interstellar travel will require Earth spaceship to just launch the planet into deep space. Yeah, I have no idea how that works, Bert Baines. Maybe. Cape Parts, until we can, like, put ourselves into stasis, I'll just stay here. Experience machine or nothing. Fair. Fair. I mean, it, like, I can understand going to Mars, given our current tech. I can say, okay, we're going to spend a year or two doing something. That's not insane. Like, you can go to school. You can go to school for a few years. You can go, like, on a, go to a different country, visit country for a year or two. I treat it like the same way. Like, oh, we're going to go, like, a trip for a year or two. And, like, yeah, it has certain issues, but it's going to be very interesting. But outside of that, I mean, it's hard to say, like, how you're going to be as a person in a few years. It's just hard to know. And so, if, like, these longer term things, Mars is not so crazy, but, like, a longer term trip, it's like that'd be hard, because it's not just planning for leisure for a few years. Like, you're talking, like, personal change, medical problems that can, like, crop up over years, lots of stuff, and that gets even more complex. Yeah. Okay, Kinsey reports on a jukebox system in the Nautilus where 3 selectors stations in different parts of the ship, none of which had priority over the others. The system was apparently played virtually night and day over public loudspeakers and could be supplemented by high-fidelity tape decks. While such a system seemingly was found suitable for a large and widely varying crew of a nuclear sub, it is believed that for a relatively small crew, spacecraft individually controllable outputs would be desirable, with a public system available for special situations. Yeah, see, this is like, we have this now. This isn't a problem. Yeah, of course they've considered all the risk factors, Birdbanes. They know about that stuff. The reason I know about, because I'm not because I know anything special about this, it's because I've heard these things filtered down, because people who know stuff talk about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's what I was saying earlier, just the cosmic rays going through like outer space when we're outside the atmosphere will tear your body up badly. And so it's like the amount of shielding that these like our ships would need has to be like a lot stronger compared to what we even have now. Because like, nowadays we go up and we go down and it's like not that bad. But like if we're going to go out into the middle of space for a long time, it's worse. And it's like, it's bad. So yeah. Okay. Radio is also available for other things besides music, notably news, information, and personal communication. The importance of the latter has been well attested to, and in fact, personal communication between astronauts and their families has been a feature even of the short-duration missions to date. Apart from the use of television as a news and information medium, television and movies present much the same characteristics, notably that they require conscious observation as opposed to radio and recorded music, which can be utilized as a background. Well, my friend, a lot of us also play movies in the background. Viper says they're actually exploring radiation earth mushrooms as shielding. Cool. Yeah. Ground control to Major Tom. Yeah, that's cool. Like, so we're just having nuclear shielding mushrooms that we can, like, grow. Fun. Thus, TV and movies can be reserved for specific timed entertainment and, in fact, to enhance their value and incidentally reduce the requirement for bulk storage, it might be wise to restrict movie presentation to relatively infrequent occasions. In nuclear submarines with large crews, movies have been presented twice nightly with great success, but for small crews of spacecraft, this is not only unnecessary but logistically infeasible. In this connection, Kinsey makes the interesting but dubiously validated suggestion that the selection of a few poor quality movies is desirable not only to make the good quality appear better by contrast, but to mobilize, activate, and release anxiety, particularly that occurring from a more or less repressed feelings of hostility. If they're making shit up at that point, I guess. Bird says, with Planet Spaceship, we still retain our planet's magnetic field. A traditional spacecraft, however, will get ripped apart. What we need to go subterranean for the near his planet's core and energy. Yeah, but that is so far in the future that I'm sorry. The idea that we have anything that would power a planet-sized object, or even close to that, to go anywhere is just, yeah, we're not going to be able to do that. Not for a long time. So it's a nice thought, but this is at least near future stuff, not something crazy. What's up, Adam? Reading probably provides the greatest potential diversion, and of course can be varied from light escapist reading material through significant literature to advanced technical. Again, however, the logistics involved for a long duration mission present great problems. No doubt pre-selected, books are heavy. This is in the before times, before digitization of books. But like otherwise, how are you going to bring big books up? It's heavy. What is the philosophical topic today? We're reading a classic paper from the 60s about leisure in outer space and how do we deal with that and what are some of the challenges. I mean, they're talking about how we can't really bring books up because they're too heavy. Like, it's a problem bringing lots of books up. You can't have a full library back in the 60s because books take up too much space. These things aren't problems anymore, but like these are considerations. So it's like, yeah, we're reading NASA's article about space travel leisure. Yep. Yeah, no doubt pre-selected reading material could be reduced to microfilm. Yeah, see, they were thinking about this. Microfilm. But prolonged microfilm reading is very unsatisfactory for the reader, and the current display apparatus is bulky. Perhaps it might be more feasible to prepare specialized printed small lightweight text or utilize a high-resolution TV type display, or even to convert reading material to audio and present it through earphones. All great ideas. Like, this is exactly what we do nowadays. So, one form of leisure activity that has not been discussed is that of exercise. There's little doubt that exercise in some form or other is not only desirable for subjective well-being, but perhaps also essential for maintenance of physiological integrity, particularly if no provision is made for the production of artificial gravity. The opportunities for obtaining adequate exercise within the confines of a spacecraft are considerably limited, but it would seem necessary to set aside some portion of the public area to double as a gymnasium. Recent studies of requirements for relatively long-term orbital missions have included the provision of exercise areas and equipment within the configurations delineated. Equipment might include isometric exercise devices, bungee cords, and specially fabricated exercycles as proposed by Lockheed, while if artificial gravity were available, Swedish-type exercises would be of value. Yeah, I mean, you could probably look this up, but you got to think, if this person was an adult when this was published, and this is from the 60s, this was published in 1968 originally, and they were an adult in 1968 writing this sort of academic text, meaning they ain't no fucking kid to begin with. They're probably at least in their 30s. That would mean 68 to now is another 60 years. Person might be in their 90s. Like, potentially. Yeah. Yeah. So, potentially alive. Likely not, though. I mean, it's getting rough at that point. Okay. In summary, it is emphasized that whether as part of a terrestrial environment or as applied to long-duration space missions, leisure activity should not be considered merely as a way of filling in time. Current astronaut selection procedure, which no doubt will continue in much the same form for some time to come, tends to favor those whose characteristics are such that they will spontaneously pursue mission-oriented activities during such leisure time as they have, while making the most of whatever facilities are available. With provision of an appropriate climate and opportunity, catering wherever possible to their tastes, encouragement can be given to furtherance of the creative use of leisure for the self-development of the persons involved. Provision should be made for both active recreation, such as found in hobbies, selected communal games, and even music making, and for passive enjoyment, such as is found in listening to recorded music and radio, watching television and movies, and reading. Provision for exercise programs is also required. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all, really. Especially given it's dated 1968, sort of a classic text, and given the notions and limitations of the time, not bad. I don't know if should we rate this paper? Is there anything to rate here? I don't know. But, it's kind of fun. It was a fun paper. But as a classic text, not really in philosophy, whatever. We'll give it a shot. So, this is, here's what we do. We give it a rating. Tell me how you felt about the paper. If it gave you some fun ideas, made your brain dance, give it a brain dance. Nogstream for existential artistic drama. Nogoro, Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas. Nog knife for slicing and dicing arguments. Nog navel gazing only for academics. Nog turd, all style, no substance, still poop underneath. And nog grapes for big claims that shrivel up. It informed 2001: A Space Odyssey, by the way. That's cool. That's very cool. To say it's outdated is an understatement. I mean, sure, but you don't have to be mean about it. I mean, you can rate it for what it was at the time. You don't have to rate it by, does this make sense in the year of our whatever this is, 2026. So it's yeah, but we've read a lot of other old stuff, and you can, it's on you, but, you can do it, Birdbanes. You can be for the time, was this good? Rod gave it a brain dance, K. Pars gave it a scream and a brain dance, Systemax gave it a yay, Tinderas gave it a yay. Rate it as if you were still in the 60s. Sure, why not? You can be fair about stuff. Well then, you don't have to. You can rate it on how you feel about the paper, but I mean, you shouldn't trash it this person thinks books are heavy and can't go in spacecrafts. I mean, that's unfair. That is just unfair to them. Energy gave it a yay, meh, navel gazing, a dance, and a Ouroboros. Cool. Yeah, exactly, Sensei Max. You can rate the ideas kind of on their own. You don't need to take all the stuff that they get wrong and be well, Kant didn't know about relativity. He's an idiot. It's no, that's not fair. Birdbanes gave it a dance. Viper says Thomas Morris Fraser passed away on 31 December 2019 at age of 90 Good for Thomas Morris Fraser. He died at the Liesure Hospice in Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, following a short illness. Before his death, he had been living in Waterloo, Ontario, where he was Professor Emeritus and former facility chair at the University of Waterloo. Wow, yeah, So 97. And that was only 7 years ago. So he could have still been around. Impressive. Impressive. Seriously is an exhibit of identifying the problems the technology will need to address. They were speaking about the technology of the time, but that insight translates to very philosophically and psychologically relevant matters that we need to think about now. No, exactly. And that's why, I mean, it was a fun article. Like, I'm giving it a brain dance also. That's like, that's what it is. It's old, but it's fun. And for what it was, it did a good job at it. Like, yeah. You can say, oh, this wasn't like so technical, like all the arguments weren't good. That's not the point. This article is outlining, as you said, it's like giving the shape to the problems. What are the issues we need to address, and how do we go about this in a smart way? I mean, it's a vote map at the same time. BDA. Exactly, Tindaris. It's like, it's a little bit of, it's a classic paper in some sense, and that's fine. Ruben said, I wasn't trashing. I'm simply saying that's outdated in today's context. Yeah, but that's like saying, well, Kant's old and didn't know what he was talking about. So is Aristotle, for that matter. It's like, yeah, we know. Yeah. I get it. Since I'm an iPhone, can you add a brain dance for you? Yeah, I can do that, since Max will do. Write it down. I don't write down, like, brain, just streamer brain. Tindaris gave it a, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Everyone thinks that was fun. Rocco gave it a yay and a brain dance. Tindaris also gave it a brain dance. So, okay, if anyone else wants to get in, now's the time, but, like, that'll be it. That was a little bit short, but, like, you know what? Good.